Good morning. I'm glad to be here with you. I'm Janice Justice, Associate Professor of History at Trent McConnell University, and this is the introductory lecture to our HI 311 course, The History of the American First Ladies. Now, this lecture may be a little more personalized than subsequent ones. I have two students that are scheduled to be taking this class with me this summer, so I may, in this lecture, refer to you, Carrington and Kaylin. I'm very glad to have you in the class. I apologize for the reflection on my glasses and the light. Um, I wanted to do this at home today, and having said that, you may hear my cat or my dog or one of my adult children come through, but that's just life. But today, what I want to do is just talk a little bit about the class itself. Yes, here comes Ruth right in front of the camera. I want to talk a little bit about the class itself, and then I will follow up with you. Tomorrow, I'll have a lecture on Martha Washington, and we'll just go that way down the timeline. I want to introduce the requirements of the class, and I also want to talk about, um, I think, the theme of the class, which is the most important thing that we have to do. Um, I've sent both of you a syllabus with the two research options. I want you to read over that carefully. When I'm with you again, I will show you an example of the biographical sketches and notebook that option. You can write a paper. If you want to do the notebook and you're worried about how to get it to me, then you can just take some pictures, and then when you come back in August, or Kaylin, I know you live in the community, you can bring it by and show it to me. Um, there's no problem with the two of you. I'm worried about grades, no problem whatsoever. So just keep that in mind, that I'll work with you to accommodate your schedule and where you are the best I can. The cat's in the window now. We're safe for a few minutes. Let me go through a couple of things, and then I want to talk for a few minutes about the meat of the class and in terms of what we really want to learn. Um, First of all, your major text is by Betty Caroli, and it's the First Ladies, and I don't care what edition you have. If you feel it's important to get the newest edition, you can. I think it goes through Mrs. Obama. I don't think it was redone for Mrs. Trump. If you want to use an earlier edition, if you can find one on Amazon, a used edition, or eBay or Etsy or something like that, or a used bookstore, I am absolutely fine with that. I usually don't get into the last couple of time doesn't allow to get into the last couple of first ladies. So, having said that, if you want me to go back and make sure that we cover Mrs. Trump or Mrs. Obama, you tell me, and we'll make sure that I get something in there for you on that. But Betty Caroli's book leans a little bit left politically, but not nearly so much as others would. So I don't want you to fret over that. If you see anything that's a little disconcerting, it's a good book. I want you to write in it. She has some important to underline in it. That's what I mean, underline as we read. In the back of the book, I'm looking to see. I photocopied it. I wonder if it's in this edition. Thank you for being patient with me. In the back of the book, in the appendices, there are some important charts, I think, that reveal a lot about. I'm trying to get this light a little better for us. Some important charts that reveal a lot about the values, I think, of mainstream historians. Um, there's a professor's ranking of the presidents with FDR right at the top of the list. And there are rankings of the first ladies. And this is an older edition. I think it has been updated to put Mrs. Clinton nearer the top. But the most beloved of all the first ladies in historians' circles is none other than Eleanor Roosevelt. And that runs all over me for reasons I will not hesitate to describe to you. And I hope you will feel the same way given the theme of our class. What we'll do is we'll go down the timeline. I'm sorry, I need to come back and talk about the research projects. But we're going to go down the timeline from Martha Washington forward. We're going to look with as much time as we can. I don't want to put you to sleep. We're going to put with as much time as we can, and much as time as our short semester allows. We want to look at the lives of each of these women, and we want to evaluate them not as the world sees them, but as a biblical worldview would lead us to see them. And by that I mean this. Eleanor Roosevelt and FDR had one of the most tragic, unhappy, miserable marriages in the history of the office. I believe reading historians, even those that are friendly to Mrs. Roosevelt, I believe that she went out of her way to make him miserable and to continue to make him pay for the infidelity that their marriage had suffered. So there's tragedy and wrongdoing and sadness on either part. She very frequently embarrassed him in meetings by disagreeing with him publicly, taking a far more dramatically left stance on a time when communism is on the upsurge, and that could not be done during the war and our precarious relationship with Joseph Stalin. And she made things very difficult for him. She was personally unkind to him. When he begged her for a restoration of their marriage um, in, 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 in fullness, she refused, refusing to forgive, refusing to move forward, and continuing up until the day of his death, telling anyone who would listen how he had betrayed her. And on the other side of it, so as I don't just vilify her, Lucy Mercer, one of FDR's female companions and mistresses is a better word for it, was with him in Warm Springs, Georgia when he died. So there's a lot of betrayal and unkindness and sadness, yet she is held up by historians, by the media, by those who teach mainstream venues as the most successful of the first ladies. If we are to assess the success of a first lady by a Proverbs 31 view, or even a Genesis view, a helpmeet, as beautiful King James says, what do we have in Eleanor? And there are plenty of wonderful examples of first ladies on the timeline who do fulfill that beautiful vision of someone alongside her husband, helping him to do whatever it is he's been called to do. I see that in Mrs. Washington, Mrs. Adams, um, Louisa Adams, and they had a very difficult marriage, but they loved each other very, very much and worked through tremendous personality differences. And the list goes on and on. Eliza Johnson, Lucy Hayes, um, trying to think of some of the others on the the far side here, or our near side rather, of the Civil War. Um, the modern first ladies are a little more accessible in terms of some of their personal feelings and experiences, but there is information aplenty for us to make our assessments. And that's how I will teach the class. And I do invite you, if you have issue with this or you have another viewpoint, that is just fine. But I encourage you here to not buy into um, what the world values. We look at science as a field of study that has unfortunately become um, permeated by anti-biblical perspectives. But I think history, it sometimes, ladies, is even worse. And here it certainly is the case. We'll have a good time talking through this, and I will try to have several lectures for you a week so we can move pretty quickly. I will also have a little reading. I'll give you a reading assignment that will help sort of fill out. I'm sorry, I'm in the club today. I will have a reading assignment that will help you fill out or flesh out whatever it is I say, and we'll have a chance. I've been promised some help with Zoom meetings, so if you would like to have a Zoom meeting, we can do that. If you're ever on campus, I live 2 minutes from campus, just off campus and down the road. I'd be glad to meet with you. So I want to be at your disposal. So we can plan a Zoom meeting and any other meeting that you want to do, and I think we'll have a really good time. With the class, let me tell you about the requirements. I wish I had the syllabus in front of me. I apologize. With the class requirements, you have the opportunity to write a research paper, 10 to 15 pages. That's really not as, that's not as intimidating as it sounds like. You may choose to write on a particular first lady or on an issue within that position, anything like that. I've had a student write a paper on the causes of first ladies, how they seem to adopt a cause in some of those, and that was very interesting, very well written. So you have that option. The option that I've seen most students do and that I really love is to create a notebook, and Kaylin, you know, and Carrington too, Miss Justice and her obsession with notebooks and biographies. But where you choose, and you have to look at your syllabus to see how many, if you would please, you choose this number of biographies and you write some biographical sketches. Now, you are not limited, your notebook, and this is where I think it gets kind of fun, you are not limited to just type pages. You can print pictures, you can have any kind of charts you want to create or photocopy. And as always, what you are creating for yourself is not just a scrapbook, but a teaching tool. And if you're going to go into the public school, as I know that one of you has thought about going into the public school system, talking about the presidency and American history, well, you'll have plenty of that here. And we'll talk quite a bit about uh, the husband and the presidency and how it affected their marriage and what she contributed as time allows. So the project, I think you can do either one. You can do the research paper if that's more comfortable for you to be straightforward and do something like that order. But I have found that most of the ladies in my classes have enjoyed doing the, the notebook because it does become a repository for pictures and fun facts in addition to your research. And my students have typically loved it. And you wouldn't believe, I've seen things that are ready to go into the High Art Museum in Atlanta. They're just so well done. And I think what I've liked the most about it is seeing how much fun that the ladies have. And I have had a couple of guys take the class and who've done the notebook, and it's really very different than what my ladies typically do. And I've also experienced some snickering about the class because they think, oh yeah, first ladies, you're gonna talk about dresses and inaugural gowns and stuff. Well, sure we will. We'll have fun talking about some of that if you want to. But really, it is looking at the relationship between these two crucial individuals on the world stage. And the first lady has something that might be working against her, very different from the president. She doesn't have any constitutional guidelines. She doesn't have anything other than informal social expectations to guide her. And what does she do? Think about how difficult that must have been for Mrs. Washington. There's a lot of controversy about when the term First Lady first emerged, and it wasn't with Martha Washington. And we have to be real careful with titles in American history, or in American government rather, because our Constitution prohibits the use of titles of nobility, like Lord so and so or Lady so and so. So we have to be very careful. Martha was referred to as Lady Washington because people didn't know what else, coming out of our English tradition, what else to call her. So, and she handled it all very well, just as I believe that Providence placed George Washington in place as the first president in order to make the role successful, I also believe that his wife, Martha, fleshed out the role in a very successful way, in a very loving and devoted manner, uh, that someone else might completely have destroyed if they had had that personality. Well, I hope this gives you a little bit of help. I encourage you always um, to contact me. Um, I will send you my text number, the two of you, my text number, so that you can. Just appreciate you don't give it out. You can contact me if you can't get through to me on my email, and I will try to be as close as if we were in a class together. And what I'm trying to do with these lectures this summer is to make them where I can use them again next summer, and see what if I might need to replace some of them, or um, you know add something to another one. But so I invite you to tell me what you think could be done better, and my hair will look better hopefully next time. To tell me what you think can be done better, to what can be done that makes it more interesting or gives you more information, anything like that that you want to share. I trust your opinions and value them very much. So I'm really very much looking forward to this, and I can't wait to get into talking about Martha and Abigail. And I'm rambling. I don't have anything in front of me, and I'm so sorry. I'm at home without a car today. Dr. Justice has an off campus teaching assignment that carries him several counties away. So, and I am here, and I'm happy here. My washer and dryer are going. I've got a cake in the oven, and I'm talking to you. I don't know how much better life could be, but my notebook is at school. Um, but I want you also to choose a first lady and read a biography. And this is something you can go to a used bookstore and look around. I used to require, I'll tell you this, I used to require that my students read a book by Catherine Clinton about Mary Lincoln, Mrs. Lincoln. And you and I will talk a lot about our beloved Mary when we get to that point in the class. But her book is very even handed, and she tries very hard to give Mary a fair shake. Mary is rarely treated kindly in scholarship or media, um, but I think Mrs. Clinton's book, and no relation to Mrs. Hillary Clinton, but Mrs. Clinton trying to give her a very fair hearing, and yet Mary still comes off as very, very difficult. But I think she also had a very difficult situation to deal with. So I used to require everybody to read that. But what I'd like to do this summer, as I did last summer, is to allow you to choose someone that you want to read about. And so I encourage you, if you have any questions, if you say, Miss Justice, what do you think about this? And you don't need my opinion either, but if you have any questions about a particular first lady, is she going to be interesting? Is she going to be accessible? Feel free. We can talk it out, or we can email. We can do anything like that. On that note, I will tell you something very interesting. When I was your age and a little bit younger, the first lady of note, even though she'd been out of office since 1963, I was born in 62. So if you think, when I'm 20, that's in the early 80s. A luminary still was Jackie Kennedy, and she was the prototype. She was the one that you held up as a successful first lady. And years ago, I used to require my survey classes to write a research paper, and I had a handful of young ladies who came up to me, and this was just for survey, American Survey Part 2. Oh, I want to write on Mrs. Kennedy. And I said, really? And I didn't want to, um, be like a wet blanket on their excitement. But I said, don't read Kitty Kelly. Avoid some of those that are just gossip. I said, but also Don't be surprised when you find out that she was horrendously snobbish and very, very difficult herself. Yet in my generation, she was held up as the one. She was the pinnacle of style and education and old continental gracious manners. And we'll have a good time talking about her in a positive way. But much like much like the Roosevelts, they had a very difficult, and the Clintons, they had a very difficult relationship and marriage, largely due to marital infidelity on the part of the president. So we'll try our best to look at all of these and to not just gossip, which is what I've been doing, but not just gossip, but to try to understand them, to put ourselves in their shoes, and to not divorce ourselves from their historical context. And you two are both mature enough scholars to understand what I mean by that. That we're not going to um, say, well, this person was a doormat when that relationship was in perfect keeping with the time frame. So we will try to not put necessarily a current time frame template over things, but rather let's try a biblical template and look at that together in that light. So I would encourage you today to, when you have your quiet time, if you have a chance, pull out your Bible and look at Proverbs 31, uh, some of the wonderful verses in Ephesians and Titus. See what else you can find about the role of the wife and what does God want for us in that perfect relationship as He designed it. So, anyway, I will close for now. I was going to talk about 5 minutes, and it's 22 minutes already, and it'll always be like this, and I apologize. But the good news for you is that you can turn me off when you've just had enough. So, I very much look forward to this, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I will have this video uploaded for you. What my plan is to send you a link in the email process, but also to try to transfer these over into the online classroom in the announcement area. Mrs. Hayes was very kind to set up a shell for me, but it does not function because this class is not created like a normal online class. They just wouldn't fund that for me. But we can make it work and make it work to our benefit. And I'll try to have them available in both ways. They will be uploaded, I guess, to YouTube, and then I will link over to the online classroom unless somebody in my house becomes a whiz and I can figure out how to do it in the online classroom itself. And I'll keep you posted on whatever we're doing. And if you have any difficulties, please let me know. And I do look forward to hearing from you. And you all take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.